Now there's a term that you're very likely to hear on this exam, and it's called shadow groups. And this is kind of a unique situation that comes up that you can look for there to be an automated solution for in the near future, maybe a service pack or the next version of Windows. But let's first of all talk about what a shadow group is. Don't let that scare you. It sounds very sinister. A shadow group is a group that contains the same users as an organizational unit. So what happens is you are an administrator and you find that you want to grant certain permissions to everybody in an organizational unit. Well, you can't apply security to an OU. An OU is not a security principle. It's only there to group people for administrative purposes, and we will see that when we talk about group policy in some different videos here in this course. But I need to give some security permissions to those people. Well, what I'll have to do is simply take all these users in this OU, create a group, and make them a member of that group. Now, here's the rub right here. It's a Southern technical term, meaning here's the problem. Membership is not maintained automatically in the group or the OU, which means that if I add a new user to the OU, I have to then also manually add it to the shadow group. Now, let me give you a little hint here. If you go out to like the Windows Administration Resource Kit, you can just go Google and you can do some searches. You can find some scripts that will help maintain shadow groups dynamically, meaning that as you change membership in the OU, it will adjust membership in the group and vice versa. But you'll have to go look for those scripts. But that's not going to be on the exam. That's just some real world help thrown in for free. Let's talk about exactly how to pull this off. What we're seeing here is kind of a merging here of people really beginning to say, man, you know, OUs, organizational units, are really cool. Would really be cool if I could just apply permissions at that level. And so there's some rumblings about that. But let's talk about how to set up a shadow group. And again, you're going to see this on the exam. What I'm going to do is I will go out into the administrative tools, Active Directory users and computers. And what we will do now is go to an OU. Notice the East OU. It has the administrator and Frank Jones. It could have 100 people in here. But I need these people to all have a certain permission. Notice it's the East OU. Well, what I can do is go to my domain, create a new group, and I'm going to call it OU Shadow. And let's say that's a domain local group, and so I create one called East OU Shadow. Well, let's go back to my East group now. If I click over here on my users and then just hit Control A and select everybody, and then right click on one and say Add to Group, and then just say OK. Well, check my names. What I need to add right here is the name of the group. Okay, I'm expecting the names to show up here. But if you remember, let me back up and show you. And I'm going to leave this example in here because this is a great visual of how you can get confused here on this thing. Notice that I have a group out there called East_OU Shadow. And I'm wanting to add all these people in. Well, if I Control A and select them, then say Add to Group, I have to type the name of the group here. So what I can do is go out and find the group down here, which is the East OU Shadow, and say OK and add it in, or I could have just typed it. And at that point, now if I go back out to my East OU Shadow group and go to Properties and look at Members, you will see that those guys are in there. So that's a real good real-world example of how easy it is to get confused on these things. That's a shadow group. It's a group whose membership mimics or matches that of an OU. So just watch that on the exam. Don't let that term throw you or confuse you.